Our top stories for tonight. His Majesty holds talks in Washington with the U.S. Secretary of Defense on regional developments and the fight against terrorism. Jordan condemns a terrorist shooting attack at a mosque in Quebec that kills 6 people. And protests persist in U.S. cities and across the world over a U.S. travel ban on 7 Middle Eastern and African countries. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King met in Washington with the U.S. Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, for talks on regional and international developments and the fight against terrorism. Arriving at the Pentagon for the talks, King Abdullah was accorded an official welcoming ceremony, including a band playing the national anthems of Jordan and the United States. Jordanians celebrated His Majesty King Abdullah's 55th birthday. Born in 62 as the eldest son of His Majesty the late King Hussein and Her Royal Highness Princess Muna, a royal decree named him Crown Prince in January 99 and then King a month later after the passing of his father. King Abdullah joined the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst in the UK in 1980 and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1981. He joined the Jordan Armed Forces Arab Army in 1982 as a first lieutenant. He also served with the Royal Jordanian Air Force Anti-Tank Wing, receiving his wings there, as well as his qualification as a Cobra attack pilot. In 1987, the King joined the Foreign Service faculty of Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., completing an advanced research and study program in international affairs. He also received his master's in Foreign Service Affairs. The King continued his promotion in the military when he rejoined in 1989, becoming commander of the Royal Jordanian Special Forces and Special Operations in 1994 with the rank of Brigadier General. In 1996, the King reorganized the Special Forces into selected units and was further promoted to Major General in 1998. The King received cables on his birthday from world and Arab leaders who wished him good health and the people of Jordan continued progress and prosperity. On the occasion, the King received cables from world Arab leaders who wished him good health and the people of Jordan continued progress and prosperity. He also received cables from the Prime Ministry and Parliament speakers, directors of security agencies and other local leaders who expressed pride in the King's efforts to build the country and achieve development. Upon a directive by His Majesty the King, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, a Royal Air Force plane flew an injured Jordanian boy back home after he had a traffic accident in Saudi Arabia. Ja'far Sharaire was with his family when the accident occurred and was admitted to the King Khalid Hospital in the Saudi city of Tabuk. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Lieutenant General Mahmoud Frihat, ordered a military aircraft equipped with a team of medical specialists to evacuate the boy to the King Hussein Medical City in Amman. Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki urged staff at the Department of Land and Survey and the Customs Department to overcome red tape and accomplish transactions without delay. During a visit to the two institutions, he called on staff to facilitate assessment procedures, urging that any complacency in the process would cost the Treasury a lot of money. He spoke at the Land and Survey Department of the need to protect citizens and investors from exceptionally high property prices. He praised a recent step to send text messages about sales or any measures on property and real estate. Mulki also called for an end to violations against state lands. The Prime Minister praised the Customs Department for their efforts to serve the national economy and deal with outlaws. Jordan condemned the shooting at the Islamic Cultural Center in the Canadian city of Quebec that took several lives and injured more. State Minister for Media Affairs Mohammed Al-Momeni said Jordan condemns terrorist acts by criminal gangs which target the stability and security of nations and innocent people. He expressed Jordan's solidarity with Canada, whose government respects all faiths and beliefs, and reiterated the kingdom's firm position in confronting terrorism and its gangs anywhere. Momeni voiced his condolences to the Canadian government and wished the injured speedy recovery. 2 suspects were arrested after the 6 people were killed in a shooting at the Quebec City Mosque. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau earlier called the shooting a terrorist attack on Muslims. He was heading to Quebec City later in the day. Here's more.
French police were investigating a single suspect in a shooting at a Quebec City mosque that killed 6 people. Authorities said a second person who was arrested is considered a witness. 8 people were also wounded in the shooting, which occurred during Sunday night prayers, in what Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called a terrorist attack on Muslims. The mosque chief said he got frantic calls from people at evening prayers. A police official said details were not yet clear behind the motives of the criminal shooting.
We're still in the early stage of the investigation. We're still trying to determine all the facts associated with the incident. So, and not to interfere with the progress of the investigation, we're not going to discuss the specific at this time.
The Premier of Quebec Province, Philippe Collard, said security would be increased at mosques in Quebec City and Montreal.
We are with you. This is your home. You're welcome here. We're all Quebecers. We should work together, strive to build together a society which will be even more open, peaceful too, even in this troubled world.
The shooting came on the weekend that the Canadian Prime Minister said his country will welcome refugees after the new U.S. administration barred citizens from 7 Muslim-majority countries from entering the United States on national security grounds. Rana Hassan for the news at 10.
A Syrian rebel group announced its withdrawal from the shaky ceasefire that was brokered by Russia, Turkey and Iran in Kazakhstan last week. The group, which was fighting under the Free Syrian Army banner in northwest Syria, blamed the government and its allies for violations. Meanwhile, 6 long-range Russian bombers launched an airstrike against Daesh positions in Syria's Deir el-Zur province. Russia's defense ministry said it destroyed 2 command points and several arms storehouses, as was reported by the Interfax news agency. Turkey reopened its embassy in Libya after an absence of 2.5 years due to the security situation. The Turkish Foreign Ministry said in a statement that the reopening of the mission will allow Turkey to make stronger contributions to efforts to build peace and stability, as well as reconstruction in Libya. Earlier this month, Italy had reopened its embassy as diplomatic missions begin to reopen their missions in the divided country. The U.S. State Department has received multiple cables from its embassies abroad reporting on the foreign anger and dismay at the U.S. executive order curtailing travel to the U.S. by 7 Muslim-majority countries. Elsewhere, over 1 million people in Britain have signed a petition calling for U.S. President Donald Trump's planned visit to be cancelled. Meanwhile, Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson said the state will go to federal court to challenge Trump's executive order. More in this report.
Thousands of protesters continue to rally in the United States and across the world. They are expressing their indignation after U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Friday temporarily barring all refugees and 7 Middle Eastern and North African countries' citizens from entry into the U.S. For the second consecutive day in New York City, protesters chanted slogans and hoisted signs like "No hate, no fear" and "New York is welcoming immigrants."
Protest the proposed ban on immigration and refugees from Muslim countries because it's anti-American and unconstitutional to discriminate against people of a certain religion.
A UK petition to stop a state visit by Trump gathered over 1 million signatures, urging the British government to withdraw an invitation for Trump to visit London and dine with Queen Elizabeth later this year. Once the petition passes 100,000 signatures, British lawmakers must consider it for debate in Parliament. The British Foreign Secretary tells Parliament that the executive order is a highly controversial policy.
The general principle is that all British passport holders remain welcome to travel to the US. We have received assurances from the US Embassy that this executive order will make no difference to any British passport holder, irrespective of their country of birth or whether they hold another passport.
In Germany, Chancellor Angela Merkel reminded Trump in a phone call of refugee rights under the Geneva Convention. The European Union is working to find a common stance on what to do.
The European Commission, together with our partners, will take all the necessary time to analyze these executive orders and the way they are implemented, to see how they can have an impact to any EU national, something which is not yet clear.
The head of the African Union said a US travel ban on 7 Muslim-majority countries, including 3 in Africa, heralded turbulent times for the continent.
Excellencies, it is clear that globally we are entering very turbulent times. For an example, the very country to whom our people were taken as slaves during the transatlantic slave trade have now decided to ban refugees from some of our countries. What do we do about this? Indeed, this is one of the greatest challenges and test to our unity and solidarity.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also hinted at unease about the US administration's actions.
But African nations are also among the world's largest and most generous hosts of refugees. African borders remain open for those in need of protection when so many borders are being closed, even in the most developed countries in the world.
The global backlash against the new US president's immigration curbs gathered strength as more countries criticized the measures as discriminatory and divisive. Khaled Ababne for the News at 10.
Socialists in France selected Benoît Hamon as their presidential candidate over his rival Manuel Valls. However, his choice is unlikely to help the socialists win the country's election, but could boost the campaign of popular independent centrist Emmanuel Macron. More in this Reuters report.
A show of solidarity between the winner and loser of France's Socialist Party. Voters on Sunday selecting radical left-winger Benoît Hamon as their presidential candidate, beating the more moderate and experienced former Prime Minister Manuel Valls, a move unlikely to help them win the presidency. During the campaign, Valls labelled Hamon the Sandman, a seller of dreams which would condemn the Socialist Party to an opposition role for years to come. Hamon enticing voters with the promise of giving each and every one a regular wage, whether they work or not, be they billionaires or paupers. The cost estimated to be around 350 billion euros. An ambitious overhaul of taxes would be pursued to fund it. The universal income pledged alongside promises to legalise cannabis, abandon diesel fuel and cancel debts between EU countries. C'est que vous, partout! Hamon's win expected to boost the campaign of popular independent centrist Emmanuel Macron. Macron gaining a big group of middle ground voters to aim at and a better chance of beating his close rivals on the right and far right. The socialists, weak and divided after the deeply unpopular presidency of François Hollande, are given next to no chance of getting beyond the first round of the election in April. That's not deterring Hamon, though, telling supporters the left is picking itself up, turning towards the future and wanting to win. The battle lines now clearly drawn for spring's election.
At this year's Screen Actors Guild Awards, the light atmosphere of the show was overshadowed by politics. These stars delivered fiery speeches to directly or indirectly slam U.S. President Donald Trump for restricting entry for travelers from 7 Muslim-majority countries. In terms of wins, Hidden Figures was the surprise Best Film Ensemble winner, a film based on the true story of 3 black female mathematicians during the 1960s space race. It ousted awards frontrunners Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight to claim the night's top prize. Fences, which is about blue-collar African Americans, claimed 2 major acting awards. A surprise Denzel Washington won Best Actor for Fences, while co-star Viola Davis won Best Supporting Actress. Emma Stone won Best Actress for Musical Romance, La La Land. The world's only surviving giant panda triplets adapted to their new habitat in South China's Guangdong province. They were moved to Chiam Long Safari Park before the Chinese Lunar New Year. The park is equipped with ice-making equipment to build the icy environment for the pandas in winter and relieve them from summer heat. The triplets had been separated from their mother when they were 2 years old to learn to live independently. When they turn 4, they will further be separated, this time from each other. Forward Josie Altidore earned his 100th cap for the United States in a goalless draw with Serbia in a friendly in San Diego in the first match of Bruce Arena's second stint as U.S. head coach. Altidore came close to scoring in the second half after being put through into the penalty area by Sasha Klejstan. But he was denied by Serbia's goalkeeper Filip Manjulovic, who advanced swiftly off his line. U.S. goalkeeper Nick Rimando turned away a 71st minute strike from Milos Simonovic and a thunderous shot from Lazar Jovanovic in the 89th minute to keep a clean sheet. Some 83 people decided to take on freezing temperatures and throw themselves into Lake Ledro in the north of Italy, all for a bit of fun. People from all over northern Italy aged from 8 to 71 took part in the challenge, which involved diving into the 2 degrees Celsius lake and swimming 20 meters to a snow-covered pontoon before returning to shore. The tradition began 7 years ago as a challenge amongst friends, but has been growing in popularity each year. Now a look at the weather forecast. Tonight it will continue to be cold with temperatures plunging to sub-zero temperatures in sub-eastern parts, while winds will be northwesterly brisk. Tomorrow temperatures will slightly drop with a chance of light snow only in hilly areas, particularly across the highest elevations during the late evening hours. Winds will be northwesterly brisk during turning dusty across the eastern parts. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect mild weather with northerly fresh winds and slightly choppy seas. The weatherman warns of poor visibility due to fog for the rest of tonight and the early morning hours. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. Before we conclude, here's a quick recap of our top stories. His Majesty holds talks in Washington with the U.S. Secretary of Defense on regional developments and the fight against terrorism. Jordan condemns a terrorist shooting attack at a mosque in Quebec that kills 6 people. And protests persist in U.S. cities and across the world over a U.S. travel ban on 7 Middle Eastern and African countries. With this, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Dana Abusham. Thanks for watching and have a good night.